Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cup TV, part of the Currently Unnamed Podcast Network, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come here first to quench your thirst. I'm Brook, and Johnny Weir 8.
Yeah. And hi, my name is Jack. I am the resident game designer of the panel. And today we are thinking outside the box, which actually means we're just going to do the same thing we were kind of planning on doing an episode or two ago, but like differently.
Sure. So yeah, welcome back to our Traitors US coverage for the season. This is our episode recap of episode 9 of Traitors Season 4, Traitors US Season 4, where we find out, will someone ever reject the blackmailing? Will a murder happen that we all kind of predicted? And will someone actually have a really good performance and manage to weasel out of a banishment? All of this and more on this episode of the Traitors US. So before we get into all of that, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button, you hit the notification bell, like the video, all that fun stuff, because we're almost done with the season of the Traitors US. But we have Celebrity Traitors coming back at some point. Traitors Canada is going to come back at some point. Civilian U.S. Traitors is coming soon. So there's a lot more Traitors coming in the near future on this channel, alongside of every other reality show. Survivor 50 is about to start relatively soon. Big Brother's coming up. They're doing casting for Big Brother right now, by the way. They just started the casting, like looking through videos the other day, which is weird. So we got a lot going on. Project Runway, Fear Factor still is wrapping up soonish. So
we're about halfway through, yeah.
Soonish. So a lot of stuff going on in the channel and a lot more to come for the rest of the year. So keep your eyes peeled for everything we have going on here, alongside the stuff we have going on our other channels throughout the year. So, and merch. Got mug. At the QR code up by Jack's head, and then the link in the description and on the ticker down below. There you go. So we're coming off the heels of the banishment of one Candace Dillard Bassett, boo, and Rob having to recruit another traitor. And of course he chose the man with the magic ears, Eric Nom.
Such an interesting choice of like, I can't tell if you're trying to set Eric up for elimination or you genuinely want to go to the end with this man. It is impossible to tell.
Well, that was what I was going to ask, Jack. You weren't here last week when we talked about it, so I'm curious where your head's at with this. Do you think this was the best call for Rob?
Out of everyone left, I think the issue with like bringing in a lot of people at this point is one of two options. Either A, this person, if you bring them in, is going to be banished almost immediately, which is great because then obviously you just give them more Traitor's blood and you can just recruit again. With the small problem that you're going to have to send them out the door and just hope they don't blow up your spot. So that's someone like Tara, that's someone like Johnny, that's someone like Steven, who already has this massive amount of heat on them. The other option is you bring in someone that you could probably work with, but you think also might outplay you and get you eliminated if they're put on the spot. Someone like Kristen, like Natalie, basically almost every single option wasn't a strong option for Rob to have to bring in. So I think he really just kind of rode the line and was like, I kind of trust Eric. I think he'll do fine. I don't think he has a reason to betray me. I'm just going to bring him in on this. And if he fucks it up, he's going to fuck it up for himself and not me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say that I think this was a pretty big missed opportunity, but I don't think it was the worst choice he could have made.
Oh, absolutely not the worst choice.
Yeah, specifically here, I don't think there is a world where Eric gets banished in these earlier in the next round, right? So you are locking yourself into at least having Eric around for 2 round tables, probably more, right? I don't think, especially when you have to look at who else is left in the castle. When you have Johnny, who's got that sus on him, Steven, who's got some sus on him. Like, I don't think it was really, or even Natalie, I don't think it was really likely that Eric was going anywhere at the round table. So you've now locked Eric into the castle for 2 rounds, which means you've probably locked in Eric into the castle for the end game, right? So you have to look at your options and weigh, okay, is there a way for me to get Eric out, or am I just going to try to win the game with him? And I think that's just what we're going to have to see where Rob ends up going. For Eric, I think this is incredible for his game. I think this is a perfect positioning point for him. I really thought that they were going to murder Eric. I think murdering Eric last night, instead, like recruiting someone else and murdering Eric, I think that would have been great play. I also think the person that they chose to murder was also a good play, so I'm not going to
in my mind, realistically, you can flip who's recruited and who's murdered here, and I don't see much of a change, at least in my mind. Let's just quickly get into it so we can actually talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So Eric accepts the blackmail. Duh. Everyone accepts the blackmail. You can stop believing it as a cliffhanger. We know they're going to accept it. They've done it every time in every version of the show. No one wants to get eliminated. And if it's their only option to stick around, that's what they're going to do. So here you go. But we get this interesting conversation in the turret, and they bring up a few people. But let's be 100% honest here. The second Eric accepted this recruitment, we all kind of knew who was going to get murdered, right? Like, are we on the same page with that?
Yeah, there was maybe 1 or 2 other options that I could see as like a possible case for murder here. But one person was just like very much, no, you kind of just need to go at this point because you're not helping anyone. And also your alibis are now gone.
Well, if you really think about it, right, they're not going to kill Mark because Rob has Mark. They can't kill Kristen because she has a shield. Also, I don't think she really was in that much danger anyway. They're not going to kill Johnny because Johnny's got all this heat on him. So what's the point in killing Johnny, right? They're not going to kill Maura because Maura and Rob are close, right? They're not going to kill Tara because why would you kill Tara?
At least also connected to Johnny. Like, everyone knows they're connected. So
so also connected to Johnny. So that really leaves, at this point, it's either Natalie or Dorinda. Like, those are the only 2 people that they could do. And considering the fact that nobody in their mind is going to try to banish this version of Dorinda Medley that we've gotten on this season of the Traitors. Versus Natalie, who almost went home a couple round tables ago and has had heat on her for a bit.
Pretty consistently.
We are finally, after surviving 8 more murders than she did the first time, saying goodbye to Dorinda Medley from Bluestone Manor.
Yeah, this was very much a foregone conclusion of like, okay, every single housewife is out of the house now. Dorinda has basically shown herself to be a full faithful because even as the housewives were going out, except for Candace, she was like, you know what? I'm not going to vote for these people. I'm not going to target them. And there's just no world in which Dorinda can ever read as a traitor. As such, there's no world in which the traitors need to keep her unless they can recruit her, and that option is now gone. So, Dorinda, you can go home now. You've been a lovely seat filler for basically all of this game.
Yeah. I mean, hey, every season needs one.
Every season needs one. It just sucks that it was the person they specifically brought back because she was murdered first.
And let's just quickly touch on that. Okay, so out of everyone who has been brought back to the Traitors US, right, we've had 2 people play on multiple seasons of this show. One of them being Kate, who, sure, I see you.
Yes, I think that was a correct decision.
Yeah, but they brought her back halfway through, which was weird. And then Dorinda, who I'm just going to say I like Dorinda, and I think her getting murdered the first night on season 3 was stupid, but it's interesting because I look at the people that you could have brought back, right? That were early exits that you think could have gotten more time. Specifically, I'm going to say Peppermint. Kind of gagged we never saw Peppermint back for season. I thought if you're going to do this bringing people back thing, should do it every season. I know you probably don't want to have Peppermint and Bob on the same season with the Traitors because that's like a very close friendship that's like very well established. But you had Johnny and Tara on this season, so I mean, I don't know.
But they can't do that this season either because also Peppermint and Monet are like good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same circle.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should mention the rumor mill is currently swirling that Traitors season 5 is already they're already in the midst of the casting process for it, but that they are fully planning for season 6 to be Traitors All-Stars. And lots of big names are reportedly in the casting pool for that, including lots of people from this season of Traitors. So let's keep our eyes open for that and see if maybe we get Peppermint then, or people of that ilk that could come back and give it another round. But yeah, so Dorinda murdered, and we mostly at breakfast are getting the same things we've been hearing. It's probably Johnny, that everybody's still kind of suspicious of Johnny, but we do importantly get Natalie saying something that kind of helps, which is that she doesn't really think that, and she's leaning a bit more towards Steven, because Steven comes in, he says, "Oh, I had my bags packed. I thought I was gone." But Natalie doesn't buy it. Natalie thinks it's phony and that Steven is a liar and that he's putting on an act. And at first I thought this was just them trying to bury, it's so obviously going to be Johnny. And that's kind of how I felt, honestly, the entire episode. And we're getting that.
Basically how I felt the entire episode as well. Oh, yeah, no, this is Johnny's swan song episode. Easy.
Well, with the, especially after the Ron episode, where we are teased the entire episode that's going to be a flip on Colton, and that Ron's going to stick around, and then it just ends up being Ron. That's why I was kind of worried about this. I was like, Johnny's been so out of all of the faithfuls this season, other than 2 or 3 of them, Johnny has been one of my favorite to watch, because he's actually playing the damn game and trying to get things done. And it just seemed like it was going to be his time. But as we see as the episode goes on, things change. As we head into our mission. Yay, mission.
Yay.
So this mission is called Think Outside the Box, not to be confused with the former Taco Bell slogan of Think Outside the Bun. Each of our remaining players is in a large, massive, huge jack-in-the-box. And they all have these little pull ropes. They pull the lid shut. And then the traitors sneak out, and they answer a question. They can answer it however they see fit, but they answer a question about the players left in the game. And then the players in the game try to guess individually what the traitors are going to say. Each player has the opportunity, if they match the traitors, to gain to the pot $500. And there are 4 questions for a grand total of $18,000 available in this mission. Can we stop doing this challenge now? It has been broken. You can't do it ever again in this way. You can't.
Yeah, no, this simply didn't work because the idea was it was touchy subjects. Except there was no enforcement for the traitors to actually answer the questions honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the simplest part of this, is that this game is inherently made to give faithfuls clues about how the traitors are thinking. If the traitors can just say, no, we're not going to do that, I'm just not going to play that game that way, it's not a good challenge.
So
I will say, last season's variant on this was better, where the traitors answered beforehand before they knew what was actually going on. Here, it gave them full reign to just throw the challenge in the fire.
I will say this. I think what they should have done, and this is maybe just me, is have it be the traitors can only choose the same person once. And I think that might be one of those things that they just didn't ever consider. The traitors would just completely throw the mission, because I mean, grand scheme of things, this is $18,000. Like, it's not a ton of cash compared to some of the other missions, but it's still like a decent chunk of money to go get thrown out of the prize pot. But when you look at and even then though, it just like they just decided to throw the mission.
But also, the players figured out during the final round that, like, hey, the traitors are just going to say the name Terra. Let's all put the name Terra.
So I will say the first round they did answer genuinely. They were like, they go up to the thing, and also I do like the fact that they have to like sneak out and like be as quiet as possible.
Yes, that was fun.
That was cool. Because they, like they said, they didn't prearrange these answers in the turret like they did last year. So they have to like quietly open these creaky ass Jack in the Box lids with these like unlubricated pistons on the hydraulics on the side to like open it up. But then they like walk over and they like sneak out, and then they talk. And the first question is, who was the most helpful player to the traitors? And they all pretty much agree that they should pick Terra, because Terra is pretty meek, doesn't really strategize much, and she kind of minds her own. So they pick Terra. A couple people match it. Most people pick Rob, which Rob said he wasn't going to pick himself. So Terra gets picked. They make, I think, $1,000 from that question.
Yeah.
They go back for the second question, and it's just, we should just pick Terra for every answer. Give them nothing. Like, we don't care about the money. Just pick Terra. We pick Terra. We pick Terra. Doesn't matter if it applies. Doesn't matter how it looks. We just pick Terra. And then it's, who was the most manipulative in the castle? Everybody seems to think it's Natalie. Terra. And it just goes and goes, and we finally get through the third straight round of Terra, or should I say the United States of Terra, when the group kind of just agrees that, like, well, they're going to just put Terra for the next question, so let's put Terra for the next question and make money at least. And then Johnny and Terra are like, let's try.
And then Johnny and Terra, for some reason, after someone audibly shouts, everyone do Terra, that's what the traitors are going to. I think Mark says it or something like that, where he just shouts, they're just going to say Terra again. Please, everyone do Terra to get us money. Johnny and Terra make themselves look needlessly suspicious by randomly throwing their answers. Because why not? They're genuinely that bad at this game. I don't get it.
It was a bit, but I will say, I don't think this blunder was going to cost them anything other than $1,000 for the prize pot. Because quite frankly, what incentive do the traitors have to not make money, right? I honestly think they just decided either A, they didn't hear Mark, or B, they were just like, they were like, I don't feel like answering Terra is like okay with me, and I want to genuinely try it, the challenge. And you know what? Power to them. I actually think it might have helped a little bit here for Johnny specifically. So we get through the challenge. In grand total, they make $5,500 out of possible $18,000. bringing the collective prize pot to $156,300, which is rather low for this point of the game, but they've been doing well all season, so I'm not really sure what money they've missed out on that was significant enough.
Yeah. I mean, the only mission they've really missed out on was the third mission, where technically they could have gotten up to 45,000, but also that mission was inherently designed so that multiple people would not be able to finish. So,
which mission was that? I don't recall.
That was the cages mission, where they were all locked in the cages and then had to stack the skulls up.
Yeah.
That mission, there was no world in which everyone was succeeding. There was a possibility of that happening, but that was never happening. Other than that, they really haven't ever like completely screwed it up like this before. So
yeah, at the end of the day, it kind of just worked out long term here for the Traitors, until the Traitors have one final thing they must do, which is create a short list for the next murder, locking 4 people in their Jack-in-the-Box for some reason. I don't understand why they had to ride separately. I don't think it really did anything for them, but so once again, our Traitors sneak out, and Rob's like, we're not going to overthink this. Let's just not put ourselves on the list, because they're going to think at least one of us is going to be there. And Eric is just agreeing. So they kind of come to a pretty quick decision that they don't want to murder Mark, they don't want to murder Maura, and they don't want to murder Steven. So they just do short list for Johnny, Tara, Natalie, and Kristen. And honestly, sure.
Correct. Yeah, no, that's just the right option.
I will say, I think it might have been a little bit advantageous to not do Tara and to do Maura. And the only reason I think that is them not putting Maura and Mark on that list. If people were paying attention, that should put suspicion on Rob. That should put some amount of sus on Rob. Now, granted, nobody seemed to catch on to that. But when you look at who's in the thing right now, you have Natalie, who's had sus on her, Kristen, who pretty much everyone seems to just know is a faithful, and no one's really suspicious of her. Tara, who's kind of just Johnny's +1 at this point, and Johnny, the person who everyone is the most suspicious of. So I can't fault them really here.
Yeah. These just feel like the safe choices that I think everyone kind of expected to happen.
We forgot to mention earlier, with Dorinda out, we are officially out of Housewives.
Yeah, no, we are. I mean, it's just kind of like okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Housewives kind of all fell at once.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, if just because you got that Housewives alliance, even if it's 5 strong at the beginning of the season, you ain't all making it. But after we get done with the mission, it seems like a pretty quick turnaround here. We get, some debate and discussion across the castle. The group of people that aren't on the short list are all kind of in agreement. They're just like, yeah, it's going to be Johnny. It's Johnny's time to go. It just makes sense. Nobody's really pushing back on it. But in the car with the short list people, Johnny and Tara have already agreed that they're going to go after Steven. Natalie's already decided she's going to go after Steven. And Natalie kind of starts that push that maybe it's not Johnny, and maybe we should be looking elsewhere. And now that Natalie's been shortlisted, she thinks she's going to get murdered, because why wouldn't they murder Natalie? So, fuck it. If I'm going to get murdered, I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to try to get somebody out. Natalie is now fully gun aimed at Steven at this round table, which means that Johnny, Tara, and Natalie are suddenly 3 strong at the round table for Steven. Out of a 9-person round table.
Literally out of nowhere, basically, Natalie manages to go, so what if I just say no to what was proposed beforehand and kind of just gun it? Which is insane.
Well, to be fair, if we look at her previous reality TV history, right, her most famous move across, 2 seasons of Amazing Race, 2 seasons of Survivor, and a season of The Challenge is literally saying, what if I dictate an entire vote at tribal council by playing an idol on everyone's unanimous target while keeping the vote off me, and me and that target vote someone else out? Because that's what she did. That is exactly what happened to Baylor in the final 5 of San Juan del Sur. And it's the most famous thing that Natalie's ever done on reality TV, because 1, it's an incredible moment of television, by the way. But 2, because she just did it. She didn't ask anybody's permission. She had the idol. She played it on Jacqueline, who was going to go home. And then they just voted out Baylor because they could. And Natalie is realizing there are 9 people left in this game. 3 people have a lot of power. So Natalie, Johnny, and Tara are all not collectively together going after Steven, but it's 3 people aimed at Steven. And Steven doesn't even know about it because nobody's talking about it at this point. Kristen, on the other hand, had a conversation with Tara before the mission where Tara's now heard Johnny's name is going around the castle, and that's her best friend. She wants to protect her best friend. So she's talking to Kristen and being like, it's not Johnny. I know Johnny. It's just not Johnny. Who are you suspicious of? And Kristen says she's suspicious of Tara.
Because of course.
Because why not be suspicious of Tara? I can give you so many reasons, but why not be suspicious of Tara? So Kristen has now decided that after the mission with Tara's name coming up so many times and Tara and Johnny not answering Tara on the last question and just random sauce pretty much, Kristen has decided that she's got her gun into Tara and she's not going to change her mind.
Sure.
I respect someone being loud and wrong.
It very much does just feel like you know what? You can make that decision. Like, we've given you 2 options today. You take a third for some reason. Why do we have 3 names floating at Final 9?
It's lovely. But then we get this conversation with Rob, Mark, and Natalie. Natalie's just like, I think it's Steven. We have to look at, he got Lisa to put her rocks in his basket. She explains how she thought he was being fake at breakfast and that it just seems a little bit too much all at once for Steven. And she's trusting her gut, and that's what she's going to do. And we get this moment from Rob of like, I'm kind of tempted to vote for Steven because if we keep Johnny in the castle, he's going to still be suspicious because Steven's not a traitor. We vote out Steven, and then we have Johnny to go home next round. Johnny's going to go home next round instead. I'm like,
perfect.
Yeah, you're eating. Like,
this is the correct analysis.
Yeah.
It's like, suddenly we can just kind of like, boop. Because all they have to do at this point is survive 3 round tables. There's 1 round table and 2 round tables secured to where you only have to get through a third.
Yeah. And then we get, I think my favorite part of this is like, I may not have time to talk to Eric, but I can talk to him with my eyes. So now, at this point, this now makes Eric the man with the golden ears, mouth, and eyes. We are now waiting on nose and hands to officially complete the 5 senses.
Oh my God.
So we'll see if there's like a smell mission in the next little bit. Maybe that'll help. They've done them before. They've done stuff similar before. So we'll see. But we just go to the round table. We've made it through everything before the round table. Coming into this round table, Jack, I'm curious, who did you think was heading out the door?
I genuinely was still like, okay, probably Steven, but also I can easily see people just convincing themselves that it is Johnny in the middle of that table and just going for it again, because these people love to waffle and then just take the obvious shot anyway.
Yeah, I was firmly convinced it was still going to be Johnny. It just seemed like it was going to be another Ron episode of like teasing us with the possibility of something interesting happening and then nothing interesting happening. But we get the round table starts and Tara opens up the round table, saying she is positive that Johnny's not a traitor, and she knows she's not a traitor. And Maura goes, well, how are you positive? And Johnny Weir, I'm going to say, has one of the best defenses we've had on this season of the Traitors here. He doesn't go around saying, I'm a faithful. He just is a faithful. That when he watches things, he wants the good guys to win. He doesn't know how he could be a traitor. We're talking about the missions. He's like, they ask him about why didn't he just vote for Tara in the last round? He's like, because I was trying to play the game with logic. Logically, I didn't know what they were going to do. We had, just because I'm a bad game player does not mean I'm a traitor. And every single piece of evidence that came up, he just refuted it with logic and a little bit of emotion, but mostly logic. I was very impressed.
It was very impressive. He easily could have stumbled at any point there and just sunk his entire game. But he genuinely just parried everything to the point where it was like, I don't think we can vote Johnny tonight. We have to look elsewhere.
It was kind of impressive because you see the minds at the table that are starting to turn, right? We already knew where Natalie was aiming, and we knew where Johnny and Tara were aiming. But then we get Johnny actually shooting the shot at Steven and explaining his logic and, everything we just said pretty much about the Stones. Johnny mentioning that, Steven had this one-on-one conversation with Lisa right before she got banished. And was it Lisa or Candace? It was Candace. Right before Candace got banished. And he didn't know why. That he didn't see the two of them ever talk. He didn't know why they were having this conversation. When Candace and Steven don't talk, Candace was, already on the way out. He saw it as a traitor trying to warn another traitor what was going on. And that's just kind of where Johnny and Tara take a back seat in this roundtable from this point forward, because everybody else is talking about other things. You have Natalie re-emphasizing the Steven allegations. You have Rob and Eric just keeping their mouths shut and not saying a damn word, with Mark even kind of having some doubts here. Like, is it actually Johnny? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. You have Maura double down and say that she thinks it is Johnny and that he's wasting time to not vote for Johnny. Steven looks annoyed the entire roundtable. He looks like he is irritated as hell. But the person I was the most impressed by in this roundtable above everyone else was Tara Lipinski, because she said what she had to say. People even threw her name out. She didn't really respond. And I think she kind of knew it wasn't going to be her. It was either going to be Steven or Johnny. And keep your mouth shut. Don't cause any problems. There you go. That's all you really have to do sometimes.
She basically figured out that, like, hey, I'm not getting banished over Johnny ever. But when Johnny leaves, I probably immediately get murdered. So I need to keep Johnny in this game right now and just see what I can do and convince people that he's not a traitor. Because if Johnny gets out, I get out. It is really interesting that we basically have, like, multiple sets of pairs left in the game at this point. We have Eric and Rob as traitors. We have Johnny and Tara. We have Kristen and Mark. And then also kind of Rob and Maura, as well as, like, a half pair. And then we kind of have just two loose hanging threads of Natalie and Steven in terms of, like, just kind of free duos where Natalie just figured out how to hook on to another duo for the round, and Steven simply couldn't get it done. So it will be very interesting to see how the remaining tables play out, where now we have Eric, who seems like he should be alone, and Natalie, who is alone, and then there are three pairs in the game.
Yeah. We should mention, though, the votes start coming in, and it seems like at first we're gonna get that what we expected. Tara's vote comes in. It's for Steven, but then it's Johnny. And at first it seems like, and granted, these were Steven and Mora's votes, which weren't surprising.
Yeah.
But then we get to Eric, and we haven't really heard Eric talk like at all. I don't think he said a word during this entire roundtable.
Not
and
much.
He looks up and he's kind of quiet, which isn't really like him, but I think he did a pretty good job here, to be honest. Before he said, I didn't really know what to do. I thought about throwing my vote, but I didn't really want to do that. And I believe Johnny. So because of that, I'm going to vote for Steven. And in that moment, I was like, oh, damn, this is about to happen, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Johnny votes for Steven. We get, I forget who was next in line. We get a couple more votes. Kristen votes for Tara. Natalie votes for Steven. And then Rob votes for Steven, which officially means Steven has 5 votes and will be banished. And we do find out Mark even voted for Tara and not for Johnny, which is kind of impressive. See, Kristen doing it, sure, we knew. But Johnny convinced Mark not to vote for him. That should scare Rob. Rob should be aware of that.
I think if the shortlist wasn't already in place, Mark would have gone. Like, probably tonight, Mark would have registered as too much of a threat and needed to go. However, Mark is now safe for the night, so it's impossible to take him out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we get the banishment. Steven's faithful. The room looks sad. And it's kind of just a little bit of a melancholy moment the rest of the evening. Importantly, though, Rob does tell everyone that he has the dagger. For the people who didn't
very much forced.
Yeah, like, Natalie's like, let me have the dagger, because if they know you have the dagger, they're not going to. I'm the only person from the dagger group that's up for banishment tonight. And honestly, Rob coming clean about this was probably a good move for his game. So I can't it doesn't really affect much for him. Even if I don't think it's going to deter people from going after him, because I don't think anybody was going to go after him this next roundtable.
No.
So we just kind of get things moving in the right direction. Steven heads out the door. We are down to 8. And we get some interesting moments after the roundtable. First up, we get Natalie apologizing to Eric and Rob, of all people, that she was wrong. And Rob goes, we've all been wrong at this point. It's okay. Yeah, tell that to Ron.
I will say, this is actually the first time that everyone now has voted for someone who didn't go home at a roundtable, with Mora and Mark voting for Tara and Johnny respectively. Well, actually, Johnny and Tara respectively. Everyone has now voted incorrectly, as in the person who they vote for doesn't go home at least one roundtable. So
there you go.
Totally justified in doing this, but
we get that moment. But the interesting moment is Kristen having this moment with Eric and Rob and Mark all in the little bar area, telling Eric, why didn't you say anything at the roundtable? You need to actually speak up at the roundtable sometimes. Kristen, I love you, girl, but he's been one of the driving forces at the roundtable all season. What do you mean?
He didn't speak up tonight, and that was the issue. Clearly.
Well, yeah, but that's not what she said. That's not what she said. She said that Eric needs to he needs to have his own thoughts sometimes. He has several times. But regardless, Kristen is now looking at Eric, and she tells Mark and Rob that she doesn't trust Eric. Which I will say probably saved her life. So we head up to the turret. Nothing else. Oh, and also we do need to note Johnny and Tara go fully public about the intimacy of their relationship and how well they know each other and how they are. Which I think we'll see how it turns out. I don't know how
I think everyone kind of expected it at this point. It was just kind of like that public, you are all correct kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's going to put a bigger target on their backs?
Absolutely. I think that if Johnny wasn't going out this round, he now is almost guaranteed to go out next round, him or Tara. It genuinely doesn't matter which. And then after that, the other person probably just gets murdered. So they have now set themselves up to probably be the next two boots after tonight's murder.
Well, there you go. So
speaking of tonight's murder,
so we go back to the turret. Eric is no longer talking in a whisper tone. Thank you, baby. And Eric and Rob are just kind of going back and forth about it. They seem to pretty much agree that there's a reason to banish all of them. There's not. And that
they just need to pitch a case for the cameras. There's absolutely not a reason to murder all of them.
They're not murdering Tara. There is no reason for them to murder Tara. They're probably not going to murder Johnny. There's no reason for them to murder Johnny.
Johnny is literally the next person to go at the round table. There is no reason for them to touch Johnny. And because of that, there's also no reason for them to ever touch Tara. So we're down to two options.
See, I will say this is where it gets dangerous, though, because if Johnny can pull another rabbit out of his ass, to borrow a solitary quote here, Johnny can pull another rabbit out of his ass and hang in at another round table. Suddenly, Johnny and Tara are hanging in at the final six as two votes without a dagger in play. That's scary, and Rob and Eric need to do something about it.
Yes.
So the question is, they have two options. Option number one, kill Natalie, take out the last gamer left on the cast, and push it to this people who haven't really played one of these social strategy games before. Or do they kill Kristen, who is on to Eric, or she's now at least a little bit suspicious of Eric. But it doesn't really seem like it's going to benefit them right now, because if she's dead, Mark might air Eric's out to the rest of the castle. So there is a risk either way, with either keeping Kristen in the game or taking her out. And then we find out the murder twist for this episode, which I'll be honest, this is stupid. Why are we doing this?
Literally, they just had the props on standby and we're like, look, we just kind of need to do it. It would have been more interesting, I saw it pitched online, to have all four of them do it together, and that would have made this more impactful. I can imagine basically a boule trapdoor situation where all of them are doing it, and then the person is revealed and that person falls through the floor and they're immediately gone. Like, I can see that happening. Well, but doing it like this is so pointless.
Mm-hmm. Typically, what we see is that, people either, they usually either end the episode with drama in the turret, but there's no drama in the turret to air out because Eric and Rob are kind of on the same page. Yeah. Or it's, like you're going to be murdering someone face to face, or there's another episode in the earlier episodes before any of that's really established. So you can just kind of keep going. Here, I think it's just them trying to artificially throw in some drama to like elevate the episode a little bit. This isn't going to be the one they submit to the Emmys. Like it's fine. But I look at who's down there and they have to go and each individually do a Jack in the Box, and then one of them is going to pop open with a traitor in it. And if that's the one if you have that one, you're murdered. I wish this was just one of those like face-to-face murder situations if you wanted to make it spooky. Like that's all you had to do.
Yeah. I can still see it ended up being that, and like the traitors reveal themselves after the fact, but it just, at the moment, it seems pointless.
Yeah. So, Jack, I must ask you, who do you think they're going to kill and why?
I think this is the end of Natalie. I think they are going to keep Kristen around for one more round, because killing off Kristen here potentially diverts too much attention away from Johnny and onto Eric, versus if they kill off Kristen or Mark tomorrow night, it isn't a problem. And I think that realistically, they just have to kind of keep the duo together, take off that extra swing vote who was voting, who basically pushed tonight's answer, but no one really suspects. And ultimately, I think they just fucked up with the short list because the correct option to murder tonight out of everyone would have probably been Mark, but Mark is inaccessible.
I think, where they're at right now, I think it kind of comes down to, is Rob going to want to play risky or risk averse, right? If Rob wants to play risky, right, what he does here, and this is my opinion, I'm going to say Rob because I don't think Eric really...
I think
like
Eric is just going to
I think Rob is running this turret. Let's just be real. Rob is running this turret.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. So if Rob wants to play risky, right, they're going to murder Kristen because it just makes the most sense. Kristen is, their biggest adversary at this point, at least in terms of in current positioning. She is going after one of the traitors that no one else is, so therefore she's their biggest adversary. If they kill Natalie, right, it's safer. They have a Johnny to go after at the round table. If Kristen starts getting a little much, they can pull the votes in with the dagger. They only need 4 for an outright majority either way. And with the dagger, they only need 3 to tie. So it definitely doesn't hurt them right now to go after Kristen at the round table if she becomes a problem. And if Johnny and Tara find out the options are one of them go home or Kristen goes home, Kristen's going to go home. Like, that's just where it is.
Yeah.
So those are kind of their choices. However, perfect world, I think, for Rob right now is that he gets to the final 4 with Eric, Maura, Mark, and himself. If that is where he is at, he decides if Eric gets voted out or not. And that's just where we're going. If Eric wants to get to the final 4 and win, he needs to make sure that either Mark or Maura dies before the final 4. If they're at the final 4, and he needs to have like a Johnny or a Tara there to like latch on to. So I'm just going to go ahead and predict because we only have a couple episodes left. We only have a couple roundtables left. So I'm going to call it, okay? Natalie murdered tonight. Then Johnny banished at the next roundtable. Kristen murdered the next day. Eric banished at the next roundtable. And then Tara banished. And then I think they're going to end the game. But it wouldn't shock me if Maura and Rob banish Mark as well. But I think Rob.
I think at this point, barring Eric literally exposing Rob on the way out, or someone getting this or there's some crazy twist where the seer is back or something like that, Rob wins this game. And I think your analysis is pretty right. The only thing I might say is I think they might try to break up Rob and Maura for safety if all of the other duos are being broken up. And I could see Maura getting flipped out for maybe a Tara or something like that. But other than that, I think your analysis is spot on. Maybe Eric gets through, but I have significant doubt. We're not getting another recruitment this season. Congratulations to Rob. Literally, we have 2 more episodes, and you've already won. In fact, you won the second that Candace left the game.
I will again say, king shit.
Yeah, exactly. As much as I don't want... This is very much on Cerie's level, if not potentially I'm going to have to see the entire season play out and see exactly where he lies. This feels like Cerie level. I'm going to have to judge if it's a little lower, a little higher, or exactly the same.
I mean, yeah, there you go. So let us know down below, who do you think is going to get out of this situation alive? Will it be Johnny, Tara, Natalie, or Kristen murdered at this next roundtable next week? Not the roundtable, in the turret. Who's getting murdered? And then, of course, at the roundtable, who do you think is going to go right before the final 6? How will Rob use the dagger? Because he's going to be in the game to use it. So we'll see what happens when this overpowered twist rears its ugly head at the final 7 roundtable. So
the point is that he could still use it. He's just going to control next round, and we'll just see Johnny get fucking stabbed, and that'll be it.
I think, okay, here's the thing. There is a possibility that Johnny and Tara, Rob recognizes I'm just going to say this, okay? If I'm Rob and Eric, I am ditching the hell out of Kristen and Mark, and I am pulling in Johnny and Tara for this next vote. I don't care what. I think you need Kristen out of this at the round table, and I think if you're trying to win together, you need Natalie and Kristen out next round for both of them. It is good for both of them. Because then Johnny and Tara become the enemy to unite against at the final 6. And in that case, you might be able to kill Mark. You might be able to kill Maura. You might be able to kill Johnny or Tara. And then you can go into the banishment, kill the other one at the final 4, and boom, you have a win. So I think it just behooves them to either, if they want to win together, take out Kristen. If Rob wants to win on his own, just stab Johnny in the front and move on with your day. So we could do a quick draft update. I will note that our draft visuals are going to be slightly out of date. Our apologies. We have had some technical difficulties today. So here you go. Here is our draft visual. So note that Dorinda is now out and that Steven is now out, which takes me down to 3. I now have Eric, Mark, and Kristen. Jack, you're hanging in there with 3 as well, with Maura, Johnny, and Tara. Logan is now down to Natalie Anderson and a dream. Lana has been down to a Rob Roush and a dream. And Mike is completely out of our draft. So what'll happen? Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I will say Lana has Rob and a dream, and that dream is really strong. Like,
that's a good dream. That's a dream
of
I
all
have.
people to be left with a single person left, Rob is the correct choice. And I will say I was definitely wrong pre-season on Rob. So he's very much impressed me.
We all were, and we do probably need to call it up. We all were. You know, we all had thoughts, and it just turned out that we were just wrong, and that's okay. We're allowed to be wrong. So let us know down below, what do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to go? And who do you think is leaning into these last couple episodes in the best spot? Don't forget that last episode is in 2 weeks, so we're really close to the end of the show. And a reunion. That reunion is going to be spicy. So thank you for joining us here today at The Cup TV. If you listen this far, hit the subscribe button. It's the same color as the red on your screen for us as well. Don't forget to buy your own merch, including but not limited to Cup Mug, creations.etsy.com. That link is in the description, the ticker, and in the QR code up by Jack's head below. Up by Jack's head below, and then the other 2 things below. So, thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.